And it looks like we have go this time. We have the actual stream working for the first time using this new software. Fantastic.
That's
Everybody, welcome
amazing.
to an episode of the DayZ Podcast. We are joined today by VictorySpamLT. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, good. Been trying to be here for so long. I remember like three, gosh, when I think it was like 3 years ago. When was it three? When did the bunker get added to Livonia? Was that 3 years ago? 4 years ago?
Oh, yeah, easily. Easily.
Yeah, it was like when Lad and Dumbgraph were running. I've been trying to get on here ever since.
Okay, I'm just getting the chat box open. There we go. G'day, Melbourne. How you doing, buddy? Midorian, Duck Sword, Heart. I love that he does that. What does that mean again? He always puts the same three emotes in nearly every single comment he always posts on any video I do. And he told me once what it means, but me being me, I've completely forgotten. But yeah, while he responds to that, um, ladies and gentlemen, today we have got an interesting topic. Now, as many of you will be aware, we always hear from people basically saying, add more guns. DayZ needs more guns, and especially from the console community. And I get why they want it, because they can't find modded servers that have, all these weird and wonderful guns that everyone seems to feel are necessary in a game like DayZ. And I kind of understand it. It'd be cool if you could have,
It's
unlimited sort of guns. But
it's the Tarkov. Like
yeah,
Tarkov has opened the floodgates of what is
it has.
possible.
All the gun autists coming out of the closet with, oh my god, look at Tarkov, it could do it. Yeah, but Tarkov's a completely different sort of game, guys. So just slow down and chill. But Victory came to me and said, he actually sent a email through or a message through to one of the dev team about an idea that I think actually has a lot of validity, and that is rather than um,
It'd be
why was
like
it not
essentially you're
recording
upgrading
video?
pieces like so you take some of the existing guns because some quite a bit of them are quite modular and just add to them like something simple as a rail or a new optic or how some people would like to have more suppressors or lasers and all these other things. So I thought, okay, what if we like talk about what would make the most sense in DayZ and then what would not work and what would be if it was added, would that make the some items redundant?
Yeah, which I think just has a lot of merit as a concept of rather than all these extra guns coming in, and we're seeing it at the moment with just how vulnerable the engine is at the moment. Every single little change seems to have massive impacts on the performance of the game. Breaks shit, breaks mods, which again I know the console community don't care too much about, but from for the company perspective, they've always been known as a PC friendly, modding friendly game, and they've had some pretty bad ones in the last few years that have really fucked things up quite bad. To go and add a bunch of new guns, even some new types, such as rocket launchers. We know how much trouble they have, even just getting the bow back in. I don't know if we're ever going to see the bow back again. As sad as that is, something they did have, but they just can't or won't do it for whatever for reasons. But what about the idea of instead opening up some more options of what you can do with the existing guns that are in the game? Which I think there's a lot of merit to this one. Things like new attachments, different attachments, so you can modernize and maybe look at some different things. But you've still got to be careful there, don't you, Victory? Because some things can become quite overpowered.
Yeah,
And
that's why I
in
kept it.
every video game, there's meta you need to be balancing very carefully. That you don't want everyone just going after one type of gun. Every gun needs to have its strengths and weaknesses, which is something DayZ struggled a bit with. Like SMGs and pistols are borderline useless except for early game. Uh, and to
Well,
go and
that's
mess with it
kind of
even
how it
more,
is in real life as well. Once you get it's useful against the ballistic vest because that's like I'm willing to bet that's probably like level 3 plates, which is like pistol range and under. whereas the plate carrier is like level 4 plates, which is rifles, and anything under than that will not go through easily. So, but I think that's kind of the point. They don't want you sticking to the first thing you find on the coast. They don't want you to stick to the first
So, what is some of the concepts that you've got? I can see you've got a lovely little tier list there in the background. Do you want to explain that to us?
So essentially, we have what I feel is the absolutely necessary attachments, something that would add to playstyles that already exist. We have the detachments that would be cool to add, but are debatable depending on how it's implemented, balanced, and if people would actually use it. Attachments that I feel shouldn't be added because if added, the way that like stats and all work, because every attachment in the game has a hidden stat, would make other weapons redundant. Attachments I feel that shouldn't be added, period, because it would just break the game and make some guns overpowered. And then the existing attachments that could just use a slight tweak like a slight tweak within the game, but there is no visual animation for this working. So
Mhm.
that it's less taxing on the system. So we got quite a few here. We got a few grenade launchers, suppressors, bipods, a few new optics, and rail handguards and all of that good stuff.
Okay, so let's start with rail systems and modularity. For those who aren't gun nuts, basically what we're talking about there is DayZ has some weapons, mainly the ARs and a few of the DMRs, and some of the submachine guns that can take several attachments, not just a scope mounted to the top, and that's usually via Picatinny rails or similar. What are you doing in the background there?
Nothing. I'm not doing. I'm just sitting here.
It sounded like you were playing with a pew pew.
No, no news. No music here. Although it is, I do live in a noisy house, so you might
It
hear
just
stuff
sound,
in the
it
background.
just
I don't. Is
it just
there
sounded like the racking of an action or something like that.
is there noise suppression on here?
No, I mean, I'm not hearing anything else. It was only because that was something happening very close to the microphone.
Oh, I don't
But
know.
yeah, but yeah. So with this, what we're looking at is there's a number of weapons in DayZ that just don't have the modularity that can actually be done IRL. Some of them are quite easy, where you could basically just disassemble, such as like a FAL, take off the foregrips and the bus stocks and things like that, and replace them with more modern variants. And others require more hardcore, things like the Mosin. If you were to mount a hunting scope or something like that on a Mosin, it's not as simple as just replacing a part. AKs are quite simple,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, give us a rundown on your ideas surrounding the rail systems.
Okay, so the three I have here. We have essentially we have the AS Val, which I don't know how well you can see that, but the Russians have this like Picatinny clamp that clamps to the suppressor forward of the handguard for lights and foregrips. And I'm like, well, we already have flashlights, and I feel like the AS Val in the VSS are not used as much because the ammo is too rare. So just giving it a little extra something for the people who do use it. We also have the M16 A2. I would suggest because all you would have to do is take the same rail. It's the same rail as the M4, just longer to
The
fit the.
M16 from memory is an extremely easy one to disassemble as well.
Oh
Like
yeah, the
from memory,
old.
because I did some training on that. You literally just pull back on a ring right
Yep, the
behind the
Delta ring.
foregrip, and it pops off, and you can
Yep.
replace it. It is literally one of the easiest
Yeah,
to
that's
do.
the traditional handguard setup. You have a delta ring in the back and a handguard cap at the front, which we have here in the game. So you would just add, and that same rail system was used on the M16 A4s, the one that replaced the A2. So since we already have the A2, why not just add so they would just take the model of the M4's existing rail and just make it longer and then just stack it on there to make the M16 a little more useful. And then we have the FAL. Now, this rail is an aftermarket rail that was made by an American company to modernize countries that still have loads of FALs in their storage and just want to make them a little more modern. So we could just, and even though you can't fire it without a handguard, but DayZ doesn't care. They just stick the tube there and said, "Here you go." They did it with the AKs. They did it with the M4, and you can do it with the FAL. And then for the AKS 74U, they make that same quad rail, the same one as the one we already have, just smaller to fit its smaller profile, because I feel like that gun gets thrown away because you can't do anything more with it than add a higher magazine and a suppressor. So just like if you maybe could add a flashlight to it, then if you use it in a raid, then you could like use your flashlight on people, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only guns I would think a rail makes sense, because everything else in the game is either wood stocks, which you would have to do some serious work to get that stuff on there, and it doesn't look right, or it already has rails. So like the MP5 has a rail, the UMP, and the other ones don't need one, etc. So that's why I picked those rail systems specifically, and they're guns that are already in use.
I just actually did start a poll in chat there. What does DayZ need more right now? More guns added, deeper attachment modularity, more civilian local weapons, leave it as is, just to see what people are saying. But yeah, it's continue, mate. Continue explaining it.
And I also feel that, at least me as a gun nerd, that having some different, also not only you're adding flashlight capability to a few more guns, you're also giving it visual variety. Because like that kind of amazed me when they added the M16, that the M4 has all these rails, but the M16 gets nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That amazed me. Now the way the fixed stocks work on ARs, you can't just pull it off. So that's fine. You don't need to change that. But just the handguards, just something simple as a handguard, it just gives it some like visual distinction.
Absolutely. It's one that it seems like it'd be a fairly easy. Again, I'm saying that from a totally unqualified coder, modder sort of perspective, but this would be a hell of a lot easier than implementing a whole new gun ammo type and 50 BMG or rocket launchers and things like that. But just to enable people to be able to add a lot more variety to it, and adding handguards to more of the existing weapons wouldn't be that crazy. But what about on the civilian side of things? Because there's a lot of civilian weapons out there, in DayZ. Well, not a lot now. I personally do agree with one of the people who voted, who said more civilian local weapons. But what about options for ways that you could improve them along that line of handrails and so on? Because you can mount Picatinny rails and stuff like that too. Many types of, my son tells me it's called sporterizing. He hates it when it's done to a
here we call
a
it
classic.
Here we call it Bubba. Bubba-ing your rifle is what it's usually called. Basically, you take a drill and you drill bits off and screw things on. It's a very crude system, and it makes it look terrible, and it might not run correctly depending on who did the job.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, they could probably do it, but I don't know how you would implement it, because you can't just stick it on there. Like they could add like a rail section that you could just.
It's one of those areas where you'd have to do a little bit of suspension of disbelief. In that,
That's true, I guess.
well, yeah, we've got that classic video out there about the bottle suppressor on a Mosin that old mate did, which I think is absolutely hilarious. And it's a
I
suspension of disbelief that that thing actually works. Just a plastic water bottle taped to the end of a Mosin, and it works as a suppressor. And we just kind of accepted that, okay, it's bullshit, but yeah. But at the same time, you need to be careful that it's not becoming too easy. You don't want to see everyone picking up a CR527 and turning it into, a 2 kilometer sniping beast of a gun. There needs to be that incentive for the game flow for people to want to try and find, a DMR or a Dragonov, the SVD or something along those lines, which does have a little bit more versatility. And
uh but yeah, well, sporterizing your guns doesn't change wouldn't hurt the ballistics of it. It just adds something else to it, usually for ergonomics. Like, and as most of these like old school stocks are like almost like shotguns, so they're like very uncomfortable to hold. So people would just chop or either take the stock off or chop it and add a pistol grip just to make it more comfortable.
okay, so I don't think every weapon does need to be modernized. There's a certain
No.
beauty to some of them, but it could definitely add some varieties, like the M16, even the SKS. There's some pretty sweet versions of the SKS out there, which do allow a lot to be done with them.
That's usually just an aftermarket stock, or
Yeah.
I have seen most of these don't work. I've seen them. They take the mechanism for the 10-round magazine out and stick in. It's like halfway between. It's like an AK mag, but it's like lengthened to fit into the hole in the stock so that you could have more rounds in it. I've never seen one that actually works, but they do exist. There are detachable magazine SKSs out there as a aftermarket magazine done. But most of the time, it's just they just change a stock so you can mount modern stuff on it. But I think the SKS is just fine as it is. It has a lot of power. It's limited, but it's good at the same time.
One of the things you need to be careful of, though, is you don't want literally every gun able to fit every part.
Yep, I would agree with
And
that.
yeah, so that's something that I know you've addressed in that there's certain scope types, like I think it's the OP one that many modders have introduced into the game, but it boggles my mind when the Western weapons, and remembering where DayZ is set, for the most part, all maps are set in old Soviet era locations, or not in old Soviet, but in Russian,
Mostly com
Eastern
block
European
areas.
areas. Yep. So it surprises me that you've got 3 red dot types for them, but only one for the AK series, the
I will
Cobra.
get to that. Why I picked those pictures. Um, specifically. So the OKP, I add this because one, it's one of my favorite old school Russian optics ever. It just looks cool. Two, it's well open and people like open sights that have wide
Mm.
fields of view. Two, why is it that ARs that like all the pick rail guns get 3 red dot options, but the side rails only get 1? I don't understand that. So that's why I add this. It's complex. So, and then the EOTechs. There's a reason why I added this. So people been asking for EOTechs. We don't need that. We have 3 red dots. Just because it's holographic doesn't change anything gameplay wise. And magnifiers. So what a magnifier is, it's essentially a prism sight that you stick behind a red dot to give it magnification. So it's
Mm.
typically a 3x. I don't think those should be added because those make the prismatic sights that we have, like the ACOGs and the one, what's that Russian one called? The one that nobody uses, the cache something, redundant. So but people ask for it, so I didn't feel that that needed to be added. And also, it adds complexity because you would have to have the red dot and the magnifier both mounted on the gun for it to be usable. And I feel like for DayZ, that would be a fundamental change to how the optics work in the game.
Mm-hmm. What is there any other differences between the EOTechs and the existing sort of red dot size that the Western weapons have?
Just slightly wider field of view on the edges, and the reticle is a circle with a dot with a circle. So it's just would be you would use it as personal preference, but gameplay wise, it wouldn't change a thing. Just add another optic that we don't need.
Because what about you guys in chat? Physically, items can be modded amazing. I've got no idea what you mean, Fraternitas. Is that something I said that sounded stupid? Well, quite likely. I do say stupid shit all the time. But yeah, it does genuinely stun me that how limited the range of items is for the Eastern Bloc weapons by comparison to the Soviets. What else did we have? The optics expansion, OKP7, yeah. What are the points I had here? Chat's not working for you, Dorian? Oh, well, I can see everyone's chat in the sidebar of YouTube, but yeah.
And this scope I put up here. This is so what I meant was talk about higher magnification scopes. So right
And
now,
that's what I was just about to go to was the high, well, like we talked about the red dots, but now for the sniping sort of ones.
so the ones in game, the highest magnification go is 12. On an actual sniper, that is low. Most sniper scopes are like 5 to 25x, 7 to 32, or 2 to 20, or something in between. But I think this would break the game because you could hit you. It's already kind of over. Sniping is already kind of overpowered as it is with just 12, or if you're using the marksman scope, the 10x. You can already see pretty far. If you just make that even harder, even easier, you're just gonna I feel like it would just make people mad. And I don't know many. All the variable scopes in the game are what's called second focal plane. So when you zoom in, the reticle doesn't change size. It's easier. A lot of video games do that because it's easier to just make the screen bigger rather than change the size of the reticle. I believe Tarkov and maybe newer Call of Duties do that. Have first focal plane, which the reticle does change. But I feel that it would just break the game.
Especially when you consider as well that DayZ has a limited view distance in general. From what I recall, you've got to go in. That's funny. Okay, you did not see it. Fair enough. Sorry, just quickly, Dorian. I said send me a DM on Discord, mate. Don't know if you saw it or not, but yeah. I just learned something new.
Wait, what is he talking about?
Something a bit off topic, but yeah, you saw that. Yeah, like it's a weird one. I get a bit of variety. Everyone seems to have a hard on for the long range scope from back in the day with the Atlas and
Wasn't
Atlas
that just a hunting scope?
Pretty
but they
much,
attached
pretty
it to
much.
a Mosin.
Yeah, pretty much. And it was OP as fuck. Yeah, I think everyone's got memories of doing a snipe into Electro or Chernogorsk from up in the hills, land there with your bipod deployed and so on. But that's another one we are going to come to is the lack of bipods. But
Wait,
as for the hunting scopes, like
wasn't the reason why sniping was so OP back in the days because like the picture quality, like you could see people better because of the less of like shadows and like
Oh, it was
fog and all that.
a lot more basic, the graphics and that, whereas it's a lot more complex now, and the locations are much richer, yeah, much more depth to them and that. Whereas back in the day, it was quite, yeah. Um, but yeah, it's when it comes to, I do kind of get it with some of the DMRs. But at the same time, people have got to remember that there is a gameplay balance factor to, if you allow the biggest massive scope on the SV or the
The
DMRs,
M14.
then they become extremely overpowered. So
I mean, you could, say you zoomed this in all the way at 25 or 32x from like 800 meters or almost a mile away, and you looking at him, you could see the expression on his face. I think that'd be way too overpowering.
definitely. What else have we got on the list there? There's a couple. Grenade launchers. That's an interesting one because we do have the M79, but there's no Soviet equivalent.
Well, okay, so the closest thing that I would add would have to be the GP25, which is an underbarrel grenade launcher for AKs. And I decided that uh, underbarrel grenade launchers should not be added because
Why?
with the M79, you have to physically pull it out and fire it. With underbarrel grenade launchers like the M203 and the GP25, which are the two most popular ones ever built, you attach it to the end of the gun, and then there's like in the end game there would just be a button. You swap to your grenade launcher, fire, and then swap right back to your assault rifle in like 2 seconds. And I feel that would be game breaking. Also, because of how limited it is to attach on guns, you're not gonna want to use anything that can't attach a grenade launcher because they're
Here's a
that
curveball for
overpowering.
you. What about spigots?
Oh, the rifle grenades, like
Yes.
the SKS can shoot launch rifle grenades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's another thing I didn't consider, but that it'd be the same concept. You can,
It's a
you,
lot more complex to fire a spigot than it is to just basically crack open an underbarrel 203 or Russian equivalent. Um, they're a lot harder to aim as well. Having done them IRL, they are. You haven't felt kick until you fired one of them. You basically you can't even hold the trigger grip properly. But yeah, um, I don't know. I don't know. See, I
I look
think you
at it.
could add them, but they're not as accurate as using a designated launcher like the M79.
I look
The
at it from a
M79 was
PvP
surprisingly
perspective.
accurate. But an underbarrel launcher is a lot harder to aim accurately because it just doesn't come with in most cases, just tube it. Yeah, pivotize it. Yeah, you kind of almost use most launchers a bit like a mortar, where you don't have or the plotting board and all the rest of it to accurately. You just kind of guesstimate your elevation and your direction, and pull the trigger and hope for the best. Whereas the M79, even though you don't do it in DayZ, the sights on it are surprisingly accurate.
I
Not
look at
sniper
from
accurate, but yeah.
I look at it from a PvP perspective that the time one you have to carry it on you from like with the M79. Also, you have to swap to it when you're in a fight.
Well, you could add things in because you probably know yourself. Something as simple as having a bayonet attached to the end of a rifle does affect the performance of that weapon.
A little
So
bit with
by
the weight.
by choosing to have an M203, you could make it a little bit more inaccurate in burst fire and so on. So that you're pretty much only going to have to be able to use a single shot to maintain that accuracy. But if you start spraying at anything over 25 to 50 meters, your cone of fire expands massively if you're choosing to have those extra attachments on the weapon.
You could. So, okay, well, I'm just move this up to. We'll put that as debatable.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a debate to be had around having a 203 style weapon in the
It'd
game.
be the 203 and the GP Bone Twine both already are in have DayZ models existing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what else have we got on the list there? What's that next one on the left there?
This one?
Yeah, next to the buttstock on the very left.
Oh, these are vertical grips and angle grips.
No. What's all the way to the left?
Lasers.
No.
IR
That's the right.
lasers.
Your other left. Yeah, that.
Bipods. That's the Atlas bipod model.
Oh, yep.
I think that's absolutely necessary
Yes.
but limited. I think the Tundra, the 527, the SV-98, maybe the M14. I think that one's debatable. And funny enough, the Pioneer has a built-in bipod underneath the handguard. So if they add them in, so you could have the Atlas bipod be the detachable one that you add to certain weapons, and then the Pioneer, which has built in, you just click the button to open it, and you could use it in prone, or you could like say there's a wall, you could have it like pressed up against the wall just to add stability. That would help with like your breathing, sniping. But I think that's just as far as go. I don't think you should be allowed to add it to like your M4s or your FALs or anything of that such, because I think that would just make assault rifles and battle rifles more overpowering than they already are. Because the bipod is primarily for snipers, DMRs, and squad support roles.
One of my favorites back in the day when they were in there was an AKM with a drum mag and a bipod on it. For a while there, while they were working on it, it was literally like a laser.
Yeah, you basically
but
just turned your gun
completely,
into a miniature RPK.
yeah, because you do hear a lot of people. One of the things they want to see is machine guns added, and in the case of your standard belt-fed machine gun, that's not an easy thing to do, because for the most part, barring the few out there that can take a magazine, M249 being a classic one, it could take a
as a backup, yeah.
as a backup. You would basically, the idea behind it was that you'd just walk around with that 30 round, 40 round, 20 round, whatever you chose to stick into it, so that in the event of a contact, you could blat the magazine off, eject it out, and then whack a 200 round belt on. So you weren't always walking around with 200 rounds of ammo on the gun that was in your hands and basically tiring your arms out. But you still need belt ammo, because machine guns, by their very nature, they chew through ammo. If you're not doing controlled 3 to 5 round bursts is generally the main theory behind what you should be firing each time, unless you've got it set up and sighted and mounted for, like, usually in a defensive position, where you could fire longer bursts. They're even capable of doing indirect fire, firing over hills in certain cases. Our DFSW platoon were very good at that. They'd mount them on tripods and fire long bursts of 20 to 30 rounds to land in a cone of fire, they'd call it, on the ground at the enemy. But yeah, for a game like DayZ, though, I've never understood the desire that people have to have it, because not only is the weapon a bit OP, but the reality, unless you're going to do that suspension of disbelief factor, it takes a very specific type of ammo, which is belt ammo.
Another problem is that if LMGs are added, you essentially just made every other gun useless except for snipers, because it doesn't matter how bad it is. The fact that it can hold more ammo than every other gun makes up for that.
And it can just spray massive amounts of ammo and keep you suppressed. And it's the literal definition of, if you throw enough shit at the wall, eventually some of it's going to stick.
And also, we also have the issue of uh with DayZ having, manually reloadable magazines. At most LMGs use disintegrable links. So the link gets destroyed when you fire it. Uh that means, so if this was added to the game, that would mean that you can't reload the magazine once it's empty. And for the guns that have non-disintegrants like the
That's a good
PKM,
point. That's a potential mechanics issue. Like I know they've got stuff like the revolver, and some of the bolt actions which have internal magazines, but I don't
yeah,
know
but
how
those
easy that would be to
are
extend that
but
out
those
to 100,
those
200 rounds.
yeah, but they're like the same. It's both. Well, it's reloadable and it's the same mechanics as a detachable magazine, just using extra steps.
Yeah, it's
The
going to need a whole new thing because yes, you can snap extra ammo onto a belt. Um, back when I was the number two on the gunner, your primary job for the Mag 58 being a 7.62 gun was to run along beside the number one gunner, and every time he got up, you would break the belt, so you'd leave him with 10 to 20 rounds or so hanging off it. And the second he went to ground, you fell down beside him, and he would already start firing, and you had to quickly snap the belt back on. But
oh the
carrying that as
the
a single person, it's a very unwieldy gun, and it will take a lot of effort to really, for a game like DayZ, to introduce it in a manner that
and another
made it.
thing I feel
Yeah,
like people forget: LMG barrels by design get shot out really fast.
yeah,
Like I know my uh few of my friends who served Iraq and Afghanistan, if they were on an LMG team, they'd be carrying, you have the guy carrying
spare
the
barrels.
gun and the guy carrying a spare barrel and his extra box magazine. They called them nut sacks, this big bag full of belted ammo that serves as your magazine. So you
Yep, that I had to carry the spare barrel. We had a special sleeve for it, and it was asbestos lined because of how hot they get. The 5.56, it wasn't so much an issue. We never had that for the Minimi or the M249, but for the Mag 58 being a 7.62, yeah, we would do barrel changes, um, because you start to run the danger of having a runaway gun, where it just gets that hot, it just starts self-igniting
melting.
the ammo,
Yeah.
and the only way you could stop that is to break the belt and just let it shoot out what's left in it. And they get fucking hot. I burnt my hands so many times on those barrels. But
Um
we kind of got a bit distracted there because the main point was about the Atlas bipod. One of
yeah.
the issues in DayZ now, is there are very few places where you can go prone and effectively use a gun with a bipod attached to it. They don't have the ability to basically connect with the environment. So you can't go into an apartment, stick the sniper rifle through a window with the bipod resting on the window sill and use it like that. The only option you have to make the bipod effective is going prone. And one of the other issues with DayZ is the rendering. So you go prone and you might think that you're invisible, but you're not. Just the rendering removes all the grass, and all you see is this guy probably wearing a ghillie suit laying there thinking he's being all secret squirrel. So, as much as I think that they are an essential, I just don't think the engine has the capacity to really make it useful unless you're using it at close range. And then it's like, is it even really going to make much of a difference using a bipod at 100 to 200 to 300 meters? The bipods are generally for more longer range shooting, which in DayZ, you watch most of the videos, barring a few. Fubar Bundy's got that viral video of his where he got that shot over 1,000 meters or something, at the apartments near Belota. But for the most part, how many people do it in gameplay? Anyone in chat? Do any of you guys do it? I just don't know people who really do it, barring
I
for the
could
meme
see,
value.
well, with prone. So like think about this, right? Like when I would play PvP, you would go up on like a wooden tower or top of a barricade or something. When you sit down, your gun is like fiddling all over the place trying to like stay straight. Whereas I feel like the bipod would fix that. Where like when you go into prone, the bipod, moves itself down, by itself would like move its by itself down so that when you're in prone, the gun is perfectly straight instead of like like beaking into the floor or aiming up too high. I could see that being a scenario, but I mean, do you think they could add a way to like clip onto a wall? Like if you walked up to a broken window, you could like clip it to it?
Any modders in chat? Like how? Again, I think we fall back though at that issue I raised at the start of the show, mate. In that the engine is struggling to handle anything that changes. I'm going to guess that something like that would be a fairly significant change to a lot of functionality. So God knows how much shit that would break if they did add that, where you can clip to an item that you want to rest it on, whether it be a bunker or something like that, because it's generally one of the things that's always frustrated me. Northwest Airfield, even back in the day, when everyone was the old Northwest Airfield, and that was pretty much the go-to place for PvP. And you get into one of those bunkers, but unless you stood up, you couldn't do nothing, and you had to kind of hope that you were at the right height to be able to fire through some of the existing little, pigeonholes to shoot through. But you couldn't snap your rifle to it. You couldn't even just rest the forestock or the front stock on there, let alone deploy a bipod and do it. It was always a great disappointment to me that you could never actually, and it does kind of affect the gameplay. That pretty much means that you have to be highly mobile to have an edge in DayZ, and the guys who just go prone, and it would happen. You'd always have, again, using the old Northwest Airfield, you'd always have those people who'd be on the mound or up on the top of fire station or something like that. That was always a dangerous place to go. But that southern hill mound, that was a favorite for people to lay there and try to hide in the bush and just snipe anyone running across the airfield. But I just don't know whether the mechanics in the engine that it has the capability to really give us the best bang for the buck of needing a bipod to be back. I don't know. What about you guys in chat? What's your thoughts on it? Victory, what have you got to add to that?
I don't know. I don't know anything about coding or engines, but if the engine can only go so far, at some point they would just have to change the engine.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another
or
discussion.
just let the game.
We're really more focusing on the engine that we have now. I've got my opinions on the engine. I've said it numerous times. I think it's time to start moving to a new one, and just polishing and refining what they've got until it's ready. But looking at even John saying in chat, he doesn't think the engine could handle it. They could add it, but how much value is it going to add to the game? I think something like the stocks, the foregrips would add a lot more value than adding a bipod. As great as it would be, and as much as I miss the old Mosin with a long range scope, no, I think it just maybe we need a category of things that just can't be rather than what's that?
I'm working on that.
Yeah. Things that the engine just can't optimize, essentially.
I'm trying to fix it. No, stop. Thank you. We'll just make you blue. Yeah. Engine problems. And we'll just put you right there.
And I think that's definitely in there, which is sad because it was such an iconic part of early DayZ standalone. But Yeah. But John even raises a good point there. I think it's the wrong direction for the game. Less milsim and more civilian weapons and armor would be more fitting.
I don't know. I mean, you could find a bipod in any store. Bare bones one.
Yeah, it does run on a hybrid of two engines, Midorian. It's a mixture of the legacy engine that Arma 3 is on and the new Infusion engine. So, yeah, hybrid beast. And when they made that change to 0.63, for those who are fairly new to the game, DayZ still doesn't have back all of the original weapons. I think it has more weapons now because they've added a few other types, but there's still some of the existing iconic weapons, such as the trumpet. Yes, it's an iconic weapon. Go fuck yourself if you don't think it is.
What's that? I'm not familiar with that
The
one.
trumpet was a pump action collapsible 22 rifle that you could fold up and put in your backpack.
I think I can understand why they didn't bring that back yet.
No, man, it was literally one of those weapons. Is do you even DayZ if you haven't killed someone with a trumpet? And I got a kill with it, and I was so happy about it. But it was a classic, little pump action 22, and you could fold it up, and it was one of the few weapons that when you folded it up, it actually changed the size in your backpack, which I know is something you wanted to talk about. So you could have
interesting.
Yeah, like now you have let's say the collapsible stock for the FAL, the folding stock.
Yep,
but
I'm about to get to that.
Yeah, so the mechanic was there about that, but they just got rid of it and they never brought it back.
So
there we go. The shock baton that's one from back in the day as well. Use the defibrillator mechanics, so you have to charge up the baton to take people. But yeah, again, we'll close off on the Atlas bipod and just bipods in general. It would be great, but there's just not the mechanics there in the game. Now, what did you just drag on? What was that up the top there?
Okay, so that is do you remember the pictures of the sawed-off 133 with a pistol grip?
Yes.
So I thought as a way of re-implementing it, instead of making it a separate weapon, just saw off the existing 133. You just chop the barrel and add the little wooden nub there for people who want to raid with close quarters, because it doesn't affect how much ammo it has. It doesn't affect the fact that it can take the little pistol dot. It just makes it shorter and hurts it ballistically, right? So I feel like that would make it would be a lot easier to implement. Just move that there, if that makes sense, instead of making it a whole new weapon. Now, if they wanted to add it back exactly as it is, that would be fine. I just thinking like simplicity. And then over here, I just put vertical grips and angle grips because by their very nature would make I feel that would make some guns redundant and unusable, because take like, say the M4 has recoil, you could just eliminate it by adding a foregrip to it almost. And then I put it, and then we have here the.
Sorry, could you see that comment I just highlighted?
You could also make flare gun take shotgun ammo. I have heard people try to do it. It doesn't work out very well, but it will fire.
No. Did you see what he said? He's made it do it.
Wide enough to go through roads. That would be funny. Oh, that would be terrible. You stick a.
No, see, again, I know we're getting a bit off track and we'll come back to it, but I would love to see more stuff like that. Yeah, I've got a video from back in the day where I said how much I hate landmines, and I still stand by that. At least now it's a little bit better. They're not as deadly as they were, but I love the idea of stuff that you have to collect the parts for, such as even in a tripwire, all you need to do is find a grenade, wire, and sticks. But you've still got to carry that, and that wire takes up 6 slots. And since the inventory rework, that's 6 slots that if you for a gear haul like me, that's a very valuable 6 slots. But then you've got to craft it, then you've got to place it, then you've got to arm it, and hope something in. Whereas if you find a landmine, literally most people, for the most part, all they'll do is they'll find a landmine in a barracks and they'll go to the entry to the barracks and just place it right there. It's just that we're talking about balance before. That to me is so unbalanced. I personally think landmines should only spawn at dynamic events, so that that doesn't occur. At least then someone needs to carry it, and I do think they need to be placed with a shovel. So you must have a shovel on you to be able to deploy it. I know that's not realistic. You can just place a landmine on the ground, but I think that would just add that extra step to make it something a bit more deliberate rather than just a troll item that it kind of is. But again, we're getting off track here. I like the shotgun idea, to be honest.
It's a shotgun suppressor. So this is called the
Mm.
Salvo 12. It attaches to pump shotguns and semi-auto shotguns, and it's a shotgun suppressor. I think it's debatable depending on what you think of like the balancing of shotguns. And then the other suppressor was a Western oriented 30 cal suppressor. So the normalized suppressor is an Eastern oriented 30 cal suppressor.
Okay, so I've got a poll running at the moment. Should high tier bolt rifles get suppressors? Yes, rare and heavy. Yes, no restrictions. No, keep them loud. Unsure. It's a mixture of yes, rare and heavy, and no, keep them loud. Now, this is a big balance issue, isn't it?
Yeah, mostly. Also, the only gun that would be able to take it, like if we're talking like realistic, like threaded, like guns that already have threaded barrels, would be the M14 and the SV-98. The Tundra, the Savannah, they don't have threaded barrels. You can't attach anything on there unless you have a machine shop and you drill it on there. Like drill threads off the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't be able to take it. But I think it's debatable just because
but
the
they're
M14...
two of the most OP guns already. We're talking about balance.
Yeah, so I feel like that's an issue because the M14 is currently the god gun. The SVD makes sense because it's not as powerful as the M14 and it has less capacity. So I think it should stay as it is, but it is debatable. And then the last one I put in was IR lasers. And I think would that be an interesting one?
No. Let's stay on the suppressors before we move on, because it is a big topic. Suppressors. You've got the VSS and the Mark
The
II, the Amphibia.
The Mark II.
You've got the VSS family and the Mark II. I think they're the only two integrally suppressed weapons in the game.
They are. And that's fine.
Is there an SMG that's internally?
No, not to my knowledge.
Nope. So they're fine as they are because they both had their little nuances. The Amphibia, the Mark II, is the most OP gun for taking out infected. It's brilliant because 22 ammo is plentiful.
It's
the VSS, on the other hand, it suffers from
lack of ammo. That's the problem. Yeah, it's that the ammo is too hard to get.
Keep talking.
My issue with with 9x39 guns is that you can't find the ammo. You can find the gun, you can find the mags, but you can't find the ammo. So why would you pick that over a 7.62 or a 5.45 when the ammo for that is much more plentiful? That's typically my problems with it. But I think I think we're going to move the Western 30 cal suppressors here just because the M14, the SV-98 are already OP. Let's not make them more OP than they already are. And shotgun suppressors we could just leave here. If it was going to be added, it would have to be on the Saiga, the R12, and the 133 because those are the only shotgun barrels that could take it, and their barrels are also could be potentially threadable. But anywho, but I think in terms of like the suppressors we already have, what guns can take it, I think it's perfectly fine. So, yeah. We'll just wait here for Boydie to come back. So yeah, how's everybody's day going? Can't really. Let me see if I can get in here. Da, 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 da. Come on, load. God damn it.
Okay, I'm back. Okay, so with the shotguns, again, we want to keep the idea of balance in mind, and I think it's a good idea, primarily because how many people do run with shotguns? Now you
Quite a
want to be
bit.
careful. You want to be careful that you don't end up tipping the balance too far, so that everyone starts running with them to take them out. But you say quite a few people run around with shotguns.
Oh yeah, R12s and 133s. That's all I see people running. I don't see people run sagas anymore since the R12 was added.
Mm-hmm. What we probably need to specify as well is that primarily what we're talking about here is vanilla DayZ. Modders can and will do anything and everything they want to a server. But for vanilla, which is what equates across to console as well, I do think there's scope for this to be added.
And as I was explaining to chat while you're gone, it would only be on the 133, the R12, and possibly the Saga. Possibly. If you wanted to leave that one by itself, I think that'd be perfectly fine. But typically, I've only seen pump shotguns and semi-autos are the only guns that take shotgun suppressors for obvious reasons, but also for balancing. I think it would be good to keep the single and the double barrels by themselves. And if you want to argue it, the Saga could remain as is because it's full auto, even though it's lesser than the R12 statistically.
Now, for the bigger bore weapons that we were talking about, your DMRs, your SVs, and even some of the civilian variants, where you could theoretically, if you had access, and I've talked about this before, but there's that lovely workshop building in DayZ, the one that's kind of like a bit of a garage, and it's got the step up to an area where there's some shelves and that. And I've always said that wouldn't it be cool mechanic? And again, I know I'm entering into an area where we're talking about engine capacities, but if you could bring a generator, one of the portable generators, so you've got to add that step to it, that it's not an easy thing to do. But if you could bring a generator, power it up, so it's going to make noise and people are going to hear it and go, what's going on over there? And that allows you to make some of those modifications to weapons like your Winchester and your Blazers and so on to maybe mount a bipod or something like that, or a Picatinny rail to, or whatever, to basically turn it into a gun workshop where you can make modifications. Maybe even a vehicle workshop. A bit off topic, but
so what you're saying is you turn mods into an event that whoever
yes,
wanted to do it. So if you wanted to add a certain attach to another gun, you'd have to do you have to do this event in
yeah,
order to get it.
because just imagine a Winchester, kitted out with a suppressor and a bipod. If that was something that could be done, you basically max it out. The Winchester, the Blaze, and so on is a damn good rifle. Even the Mosin, just imagine being able to bring back the Mosin with a long range scope on it, not just the PU. It's still a 7.62 by 54 weapon. It's a powerful round. But to do it, you need to do something. You can't just, like back in the day, Brian Hicks famously said, there's a clip, I can still remember it as clear as day. That said, remember, I've had a stroke, so I could just be imagining this, but I'm 99.9% certain he said it won't be just as easy as dragging a scope onto a Mosin. That they did plan to bring it back. And that was always my belief, that it was going to be something like that. And I think as a gameplay mechanic, that is a brilliant way to go about it. You've got your existing weapons where it's easy to do. And yes, we talk about, there's some weapons, especially the AK family, they really get screwed over by comparison to the Western weapons with the amount of versatility. I've always said the AK-101 it's almost like it's a token weapon. The best it can take is a 30-round mag, and then yes, you can put the bipod or the handrail mounted a suppressor on it. But by comparison to the AK-74U, which can get a 45-round mag, the AKM, which can get a 75-round mag,
or the 74M also takes the 45-round mag.
Yep, you're stuck with the 30-round mag.
Also, I feel like the 101 was only good when your alternative was the M4. Like, I remember, like, it was the M4 or the 101. If you were running 5.56, that's what you were stuck with. But now you got the AUG, the FABOS, the M16. I don't know anyone who specifically runs a 101 anymore. Like, if you're gonna pick an AK, it's gonna be the 74M or the AKM.
Yeah, see, like Demon Azure was saying in chat that he likes that idea of those mechanic shops because it adds a dynamic event that isn't something that's so obvious. It adds a bit of life to a server. Gives people a reason to go to places. You could even make it like, for the most advanced modifications, you need to go to somewhere like a military base. So it's a high risk area, but with a higher reward if you can pull it off. Because obviously a military base is going to have better gunsmith facilities than what the average person, unless you live in America, is going to have.
Not even in America. If you got a lot of money and a lot of licenses, you can get some pretty nice machines. But like you and your there's a big difference between nice facility and a guy with hand tools and a drill in a garage.
and like John's saying, it's not a massive ask either, because these items are there, the drill press, devices, and all the rest of it. So barring maybe some animations, if you wanted to go that far, but just a bit of coding to do this. And again, I know that I'm saying coding, and that could cause the entire game to break for another 6 months. But yeah,
hey, it'd be worth it though.
The idea that you have to get a generator adds a barrier to it, so it's not a simple thing. It's a case of shit. Do I carry the generator?
Tools, like,
do I? Yeah. You've got to power it, and we know that they can power shit now because they do that on Sakal.
And
you've got to get yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I do. It also reminds me of a lot of modded servers that like JLK and Sour Sweet all playing. A lot of them have key cards. People farm the fuck out of those key cards.
And look, something like that, because they've got that capacity now to do it, to maybe go to the high value gunsmith shop at a military base. You need to find a key to open
you need
up
the key to open the door. Get in.
So you can make it a bit more of a barrier to being just something that anyone can do, where it's a bit more of an adventure. Shit, I've got this. I just found this. Fuck, I need to go find a key, and the keys only spawn at dynamic events or something. Yeah,
like how on Sakal the key cards to the locking containers, you have to go to specific. I think it's the only place is Burrican's the only place they spawn. I think you have to like physically go from 1A and move to another. So like I think the basic garage mods could be like in the lower tier. See, I think in like the villages in between the coast and like up north, and then the big one I think the military one should be Kamensk. I feel like the Kamensk military is underutilized because Northwest Airfield is bigger, or Tissy's bigger.
Yeah.
So if you could limit it, so like just try and think of places where like you would, instead of just go straight northwest. Well, no, if you want this, you have to go in a different direction to get it. Kind of like what they did with the boat spawns. You have to go back to the coast if you want a boat. if you want toxic zones, you have to go back to Pavlova. So something like that drags you away from the regular northwest curve. And I think would also create more interactability between between freshies and late geared players, because you would have people constantly moving around. Kind of like how in Rust you have people are going back to all these different monuments of varying levels of gear
and difficulty. You know, some have got AI, some don't. But yeah, look, the last item you had on the list here was the laser sight.
IR lasers.
Now,
so those only work under night vision.
Not night vision, yes.
So I don't know. I put this at engine problems because I don't know if they could do it. Not producing the laser, but the mechanic where you have to turn, like, cant your gun so that you use the laser as your primary instead of your optic. You know how a lot of games do that? You just, I don't know if it could do it, but I thought about this as a niche item because say you're running like night vision and a marksman scope or an ACOG. You can't use both at the same time. You'll flip you lose your night vision when you use your optic. So maybe by adding the laser onto your handguard, you could turn it over when you're in close range or in a pinch, and then use your long range optic when you need to go to distance at night.
I've got a lot of thoughts on the night vision in DayZ. From the night vision scope for the Western weapons is a Starlight scope, and that thing's a Vietnam era scope.
Yeah,
it
so
is an absolute piece of shit.
So is the AK
Russian equivalent.
That's also because
now, I never used obviously the Soviet one, but I did use the Starlight scope. That was all we had until we got the PAS 5s, which were actual goggles back in the day. I haven't used, but I've seen stuff on just how high tech the stuff is nowadays. But that Starlight scope is an absolute dog piece of shit.
Yeah, it was like a Gen 1 or a Gen 2.
Yeah, it'd give you some an obvious advantage, but when we got the PAS 5s, the goggles, they did eventually issue us with lasers as well, and it was a bit of a game changer. But at the same time, some people might be worried it's a bit of a OP thing, but it's a double-edged sword. Because all you got to do is follow the laser to where it ends, and you know where the person is.
Someone else is wearing night vision, they can see it.
Yeah,
that's why, like today, they don't issue like a lot of units in Ukraine are not being issued lasers because thermals can pick it up. Now, granted, in DayZ's time period, thermals practically don't exist, so we don't have to worry about that. But I thought it'd be interesting as a niche item, but I think engine problems would probably kill it.
Yeah, I think it'd be an easy one because we have torches. We know that you've already got the rangefinder, so there's some capacity there for the code to understand where you're looking at with the item. But it's just a case of how does it work when you're running? Because you're just gonna again, having used them, when you're running, that laser is just flashing everywhere. We had it where you could have it on constant, or you had to press a little button that was right next to the trigger to turn it on briefly while you were aiming, and then but I'm
more worried about the animation to cant your gun than how the laser works, because the laser I think would work just like the flashlight. You just turn it on and it stays on until you turn it off, or it turns off when, I don't know if you noticed it with the flashlight, when you're not aiming, the flashlight just points down.
There was a couple of points
work the same way.
There was a couple of points I did want to raise. One with the suppressors. One of the things that frustrates me is the simplicity of the suppressors. And anyone who knows anything about pew-pews knows that there are very few, barring, I'm going to guess, some ones with some modularity in them where you can change how they fit. But for the most part, they're pretty much custom to the weapon that they're going to be attached to. And the ammunition affects it as well, the ammunition size. Whereas we've got these one size fits all scopes, pretty much. Sorry, suppressors, which
There's actually a reason for that. So the pistol suppressor is a 45 suppressor in size, even though they're using a 9mm suppressor for the model. But so there are multi-use suppressors; those do exist. So like you could put a 30 cal suppressor on a 5.56 gun, and it works just fine. It's just bigger and heavier. Uh,
but it's the
but
attachment method.
ammunition, you could shoot any ammunition through it, but if you want to enhance performance, you need subsonic to enhance its performance. But it will shoot it just fine as long as the suppressor is sitting
Suppressor
on
can
the
be
gun.
attached,
Well,
and
not just
that's
attached, but also the barrel is concentric. If your
hmm.
barrel is not concentric, the suppressor is not perfectly straight. But that's an engineering problem. But most of the guns in the game either have their are uh, it's either direct thread. So I'm guessing they're using the direct threads. So you just unscrew the muzzle and then just attach the suppressor to it. Because none of the muzzle devices that exist in the game, none of them are QD'd for a suppressor, where you could screw the suppressor onto the muzzle device. So I'm guessing that you in the game logic, you're just taking the muzzle off and
One of those suppression of disbelief
yeah, it
factors.
works for
But
simplicity.
I think that would be when it comes to some of the more high-powered weapons, where you could balance it in that you need a specific type of suppressor to go on, say, a DMR, one that the DMR is a rare spawn as it is. The suppressor for it is even rarer, so that it's like a finding as rare as hen's teeth, finding a unicorn sort of thing. But again, is it really needed? I don't know. I kind of like the idea that you're going to have a bit of risk versus reward. You get the the god tier guns, the DMRs and that, and there's a risk in that because as soon as you shoot it, it's like you're ringing the dinner bell. Every sweaty PvP Giga Chat is going to start running in your direction to try to get that gun off of you. If you
Another
make it
thing I don't
suppressed,
like,
it becomes a bit too OP. I feel
I
balance.
also don't like. Okay, okay. So anyone who's ever shot suppressed, yeah, it's quieter, but it also is still loud as hell.
Yes,
I don't like that.
Hollywood has ruined what people think suppressors are capable of.
Like the closest thing you can get to Hollywood quiet is subsonic suppressed 22 rifles. That's the closest you're ever getting.
The other question I have for you and for chat is, and this is something that really pisses me off, and I mentioned them at the start, but submachine guns in this game are nigh literally you pick it up until you find something. Literally, a fire axe is sometimes more preferable to some SC. I know I'm being a bit capricious there, but they need to do something to make them, and it's one of those balance things that firing ARs on full auto, yes, it's something you can do, but it's not something you should do. It's a last resort sort of thing. Whereas SMGs are much more capable of accurate fire when in full auto, just due to the very nature of the ammunition. And kitted out right, with a buttstock, with good grips and all the rest of it, which, the MP5K is a great one for that, because you can fit the alternate handguard onto it. And maybe improve it with better handrails and foregrips and so on. But it's almost like they're just there for the sake of being there in some cases. How do the rest of you feel about SMGs?
I think I think the UMP could use a damage buff because like I feel like for it's 45 and it's a longer barrel. And yeah, 45 out of a rifle length barrel, like a PDW barrel, is gnarly in FPSs. I think the MP5 is fine as it is because the MP5K is one of those guns you pick up and you use it until you get something better. I think the 380 SMGs need to get buffed because I don't know what it is. I feel like 380 is so inconsistent. Sometimes
Yeah.
it hits, it's a one shot. Sometimes it takes like the whole magazine to kill somebody. And with the Bison having a 64 round mag, like I don't see anybody running that. You have such a high capacity magazine and nobody's running it because 380 is damage is too inconsistent.
One of my mates loves to run with it. But yeah, they just, you sometimes feel like, yeah, you could have thrown the gun at them and maybe done more damage. And I know body armor does affect it, as it rightly should. You know, they're only 9mm rounds, 45s, 380s, and so on. But they've got to do something with them to make them just that a bit more attractive. And even one of the other things I've talked about as well is I think one of the things that kills the game is the lack of difficulty in using some of the long guns in close range. Yeah, we had the issue a while back, and they kind of did a fix to it with collision, in tight quarters. But you very rarely ever see people switch from their primary to a secondary, a pistol or an SMG or something like that. They'll just continue using that long rifle. And I'm talking more, not so much about the ARs. Many of the ARs are perfectly fine in a close quarters environment. But when you've got people running around with the SV-98, the Mosin, and
they
all
go
the rest
indoors
of
and they go.
they are not a close quarters weapon, people.
No, they're
Like
not. Not
even the
even
SLR struggles in that sort of thing, and that's from first-hand experience.
even
That
an
is,
M4.
yeah,
Without like
yeah.
it's
Unless
short.
unless you're going to do things, they've got a great attachment in the game, the CQB buttstock.
That's in
Which
by name. It's the same size as
I know
all the other
it makes
stocks.
no difference, and that's something we'll talk about in a sec because you wanted to talk on inventory as well for the guns. But how many people do switch to a 9mm or a 45 or a pistol, even the 357s, the Deagle and so on? I love carrying the Deagle myself. It's my bogey gun. Every time I get it, I always seem to die, but I still continue to get it because I just love it, just purely because of bulletproof Tony.
Actually, I do. So because a pistol, one, it's smaller indoors. Also, you're going like I typically use pistols on zombies more than people, but
Yeah,
uh, it's that it's smaller. I find it to be. I don't know if it's just my ears, but I feel like the pistol suppressor is quieter than a rifle suppressor, and you are not wasting your good ammunition on easy targets. And also, I don't use full auto either. I use semi and just bump fire my trigger finger. Yeah, I feel like it's much more accurate and a lot less wasteful. And funny enough, I was talking like my military friends. They tell me like, yeah, that's what we're trained to do too. we're trained like the
yeah.
only people who
I'll get you to
actually.
turn the screen share off because we've been through everything now. Because now
Oh,
we're going to
okay.
talk about um,
Okay.
nope, you just raised your hand. But
Oh,
yeah, I would just love to see them come up with a way to better make people want to consider options to use some of the other weapons in the game. It'll add a bit more variety for people instead of just running into the same thing. It's either an AR or one of the big long rifles.
well, it makes sense. It's damage, it's distance, it's
Yeah.
like there's a reason assault rifles replaced SMGs 70 years ago.
Yep. But they're still used. There are
Yep.
still lots of great cases for using them. And, someone running around with a Mosin or an SKS, an SV-98, shouldn't be wanting to run into a close quarters environment with that rifle out. There should be, again, talking about balance, a risk for them. They're shotguns. Shotguns are much better for that CQB sort of stuff. You see that a lot with the professionals in games like PUBG, when they do a hot drop, even though they won't carry them to end game, they'll use them at the start when they're contesting somewhere like school or apartments or something like that,
Yeah, the
because it's
shotguns are
so
nasty up
OP
close.
at close range. But once you get off the coast, pretty much, not a lot of people will carry them. I know you said you see it, but I don't.
On
I just
console,
don't
I
see it.
do. Everyone carries their AR and a shotgun. That's what people are carrying these days. Like,
Maybe that's
uh,
because of the console doesn't allow for quite the precision of aiming that mouse and keyboard offers.
well,
But
people
yeah,
still snipe. People will still carry Moser and SV-98, but you can do more with an assault rifle than you can a sniper.
oh sure, particularly with you can stick it 4 times, 6 times on it as
Or
well.
the fact that you now have the marksman scope now, so you just hit fire when you're up close and then use the marksman at distance.
Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, like Demon said there, an SMG should beat an assault in a 10-foot fight. I don't know, all things considered, but an S like if they're lucky, but again, shooting full auto with your larger caliber weapons it's a bit of a roll of the dice once you get past a certain distance, and there's also a bit of a skill to it, because they especially like the 7.62s, fuck, they kick like a bitch
yeah,
when you
there's a
fire full
reason
auto.
why the British and Australian models of the FAL they removed full auto completely.
Yep.
Because
Although
it's
the diggers did work out how to get around it. Apparently, Legend has it with just a matchstick in the right place. You could turn it back into full auto. I know the SASR definitely did it with the bitch, but they made some pretty crazy modifications that not the average soldier can do. Sawn down versions of the FAL. If you haven't heard of the bitch, look it up. Gun Jesus has a really good channel on it. But yeah, but I would just love to see some love for the SMGs because they're good weapons. The ammo is plentiful. Maybe even some increased magazine sizes um, to make them a bit more valuable to people. Like 75 round drum mags, make them a bit rarer,
I
obviously.
know
Um,
the MP5s there is a 50 round drum mag floating around out there. I don't know about any extended mags for the UMP. Then again, the UMP in real life is not that popular because of it's just not that great of a gun.
45 is a bit of a starting to
Well,
get
there
into a
is the
larger.
UMP 9, but I meant like the design of the UMP. It's cheaper to produce, yeah, but it's mostly plastic. It doesn't beat the MP5, and it came out at a time when like cops and stuff are moving away from SMGs towards short barrel assault rifles for
Mhm.
so you could be applications.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just popular in games because it's iconic from the 2000s.
G'day, Taters. How you doing, buddy?
Um,
Nice to see you. But yeah, no, I don't know. Okay, let's move on to the next point, mate. Inventory. This is something that has bugged me for ages, and I know they did a recent change, but still, you can. And fuck, mate, the way inventory works in DayZ is literally one of my biggest bugbears. That you could be
play
running and
console.
drag a fully equipped rifle out of your backpack without having to stop and drop the backpack on the ground and engage with it. Yeah, now at least you can't have them on the hot bar on vanilla servers, but even having ammo in your backpack and that, I think it would just add so much value to the game if they just made some basic changes that things like you could disassemble many of these weapons. The Steyr, for example, the barrel to take off on that is so easy. It's literally
Yeah, you
slide a
just pull
lever
up
with
and
your thumb,
pull out.
twist, and it pulls out. And you
Yep.
just reduce the size of that weapon to something that can easily fit inside nearly any backpack.
Not only
Um,
that,
a foul, on the other hand, no, you can't do that.
actually, you can't. You could take it. You could take the upper and the lower apart, and make it smaller.
Yeah,
You can
but you've
also
got to.
do that with
It's
the
a pin,
ARs.
and that's a more deliberate thing where you've got to basically stop and knock that pin out to break it in half.
Yeah,
But that,
the ARs can do that as well. You push 2 pins, and the upper and the lower come apart.
yeah. But the Steyr is a much simpler one, where it's literally there's no pin to knock out. It's literally just slide a button, and yeah,
Uh, that's why I put in the folding stock. So we have all these guns that have folding stocks. Most of the SMGs have folding stocks. You have folding stocks on the AK. You've got the folding stock for the FAL. Why can't we like fold it, even if there's no animation for it, even if like it only happens if it goes into your inventory? Why can't we? Because you PC guys, you have your slots are limited in size, whereas on console the only thing that matters in a backpack is the weight. So yeah, because it doesn't, there's no, it's not, you're not playing Tetris. But you guys on PC, that's a serious problem. Like, you can't fit a Mosin in certain backpacks on PC, but on console, you can fit it into that exact backpack because you have it goes by the numbers on its length. So, like, if we could just, cut some things down, like, imagine being able to fit an MP5K folded in your pants, in like the basic pants, because it could fit it.
what sort of pants are you fucking wearing?
Like game wise, like the
No, see, I don't agree with that per se. I think that should be restricted to pistols, but why not have some slings that enable you to, you have the, I think it's called the 3-point, tri-point slings, where you can hang the weapon off the front of you.
that's with any sling, really. The
Yeah.
2-point slings are the most common because it's more ergonomic.
Mm-hmm.
Because unlike a single point sling, the gun won't dangle when you're not using it.
But yeah, when you have things like the stocks and that, they need to make a bigger difference to the performance of the weapon. So that if you do put a folding stock onto a FAL, it's less accurate, but you're doing it for a reason in that it makes it easier to store it. If you do need to, if you want to be a weapons whore
I'm
and
pretty
carry,
sure it already
a dozen
has
rifles,
makes it less usable.
but it would be great if it actually changed the inventory size,
Yeah, that would
so
be
that there's
great.
a
But in
reason.
terms of
Literally, it's just optics. If you just want to look cool because you've got the folding stock on it, but most people don't bother. And
well,
yeah, the
according to
MP5K has that as well. I'm pretty sure the folding stock.
yep,
The
the
Bison is a folding stock
MP5K,
as well.
the UMP, the Rack, the Scorpion, the SV-98, no, ASVAL, the Victor, uh, all the AKs if you put either the polymer stock or the triangle stock. Both of those are folding stocks.
Okay, we're having a clarification in chat here. I don't know whether you saw it. Shogun the Imperial came in late and rewound to the beginning. Just my 2 cents on the comment about sporterizing civilian weapons and the guest saying that it's called bubba-ing. It's called modernizing. Big difference. Bubba-ing a firearm is when someone takes parts from a completely different weapon and forces them onto another weapon.
That's how I grew up. That if you
It's
took
probably a locational thing then, but yeah.
Well, I
But
know people from all over the country that if you take a standard like classic rifle and you put modern stuff on it, they call that bubbying because you're ruining the weapon.
yeah, but back to the inventory thing. I think that would be one that wouldn't be too hard for them to implement, barring maybe some animations, and some potential changes to performances of weapons, depending. But ultimately, all it comes down to is a different graphic design of the weapon when it's in your inventory. Which, as I said, we've got the example of the trumpet, which was a weapon that had two stages, folded where it wasn't able to be fired. You could basically just use it as a melee weapon, and then unfolded to be able to actually fire it. So that would be a good one. Being able to break a weapon down, and obviously your civilian variants, many of them, your long rifles. No, it's not really viable on them. Yes, you can if you do a complete full strip, not just a field strip of them. But
You would have
that
to change
generally involves some specialized tools, in some cases punches and so on, to knock out pins that
bedding.
are in very hard. Yeah. Whereas many of your military weapons are designed for quick disassembly and reassembly. So that gives them the advantage in that regard. But it definitely would add. But you've got to look at the thing of, you've still got that ability of, while you're on the run, being able to just press tab, look in your inventory, and drag a weapon into your hands and be able to use it. I that's always been one of the biggest bugbears for me. Is just how easy some of that stuff is, and yeah, it's one
I
of
don't
my
know how you would
frustrations.
fix that, because any game that has a slot base can do that. Like a slot based inventory system, you could just drag it out. So I don't know how you would fix that unless you make it exclusively to a holster or the side of your back. So like if you put a gun in your inventory, you can't pull it out whatsoever until you drop the thing. I don't really know how you would make it so that you couldn't just pull a whole gun out of your pants. Unless they remove inventory slots out of a lot of your clothing.
Inventory size is the easiest way. Being able to stick a cooking pot in your fucking pants is ridiculous. But that's an easy way to do it. The fact that you can put these long rifles without having to disassemble them into backpacks is bizarre to me. I just realised the chatbot was inactive. Just turning it back on. Let me see if that works now.
I could see this happening. I don't think they'll do it because it'll piss too many people off. They could make it so that every gun that's not a pistol not be able to go into any inventory slots whatsoever. So you couldn't put it in your shirts, you couldn't put it in the backpack. It's either on your back or in your hands.
And that Discord link is actually invalid at the moment because I don't have the tier 3. So let me just get the proper invite for you, buddy. Just give me one
Invite
sec.
for what?
Discord.
What about the Discord?
The invite to the Discord, the podcast Discord.
I thought I was already in the Discord.
No, not for you. I was talking to someone in chat. Shogun. Yeah.
I was about to say, like, I'm pretty sure I'm already in it.
Yeah, there you go, Shogun. That's the proper link. I don't have tier 3. It costs so fucking much to pay for all those primes or nitros. I need another 20 boosts to get back there, and it's fucking insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah,
How
I
much they charge.
have Nitro for 3 months free, and it's about to go out, and I'm just gonna let it go out. I can't afford this crap. I'm not on here enough.
Ladies and gentlemen in chat, is there anything else on this topic of what they could do to spice the game up that you don't think we've discussed, or that you think needs a bit more exploration? Because I think we've pretty much covered most of it now, haven't we, Victory?
Yeah, pretty much. I had everything I've had in.
And just so you know, Victory actually sent this through to the devs, and they said they were going to look at it. So that's part of the reason why we're doing it, is because I would love to see them do something along these lines, because it's just a gun every now and then. It's a bit stale, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the only guns I know of consequence that actually like change things up was the M14, the SV-98, and the R12. Like the rack. Unless that's the first thing you pick up, who in the world's using it? The P1.
Yeah.
I forget that gun's even in the game because why is it in the game?
Yeah, I look literally when I play and I find the P1, I constantly go, like, if I'm on a vanilla server, like, I thought I joined a vanilla server. Oh, I am. Oh, yeah, that is and you just, because who wants to carry the P1?
Nobody.
And you can find a Glock, or you can find
the CZ, or even a Makarov. The CZ. Or the single barrel shotgun. I feel that that gun was not needed because the
It's a
double
weird one,
barrel.
isn't it?
Well, because like yeah, it's usable, but why would you pick one barrel when you could a double barrel's in the same spawn locations and you would just have an extra barrel?
Shogun, thank you so much, mate. And thanks for this goes to Victory as well, because this is something he feels quite passionate about, being a gun nerd. But yeah, it is definitely something that, again, touching on that point at the start, yeah, you'll still get people say we need more guns, we need this, we need a 50 BMG, we need machine guns, blah blah blah. But yeah, but when it comes to single barrels though, um, Demon's saying the single barrel is needed. I kind of agree, like both of them. But the single barrel 762 by 39, the IZH
No,
18,
no,
I
no.
think
I was
that one
talking
is.
about the BK-12, not the
Yeah,
IZH.
sorry, the BK 18. But I'm talking about single barrels in general. I I like it, even though it's not used. It's something that's still kind of unique to the game, and those weapons are kind of iconic in that region as well. Like one addition that I suggested that would make for something quite unique and quite interesting is in that same family. The Izales, I think, is the brand name for those guns.
BK
IZHs,
is Bacal. It's Bacal
Bacal firearms.
IZH
That's it.
18. So both
Yep. There
the
is
BK
actually
18
a
and
combo,
the
an over and
BK-12.
under, that is a hunting rifle and a shotgun combined in one.
Yeah,
Now that would be a cool gun
they're
to add to
called
the game.
combination weapons.
Yeah.
You have
And there's
typically a
actually one in
pistol.
that family.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but the BK-18 and the BK-12 are both called ICH-18 in real life.
I did not know that. I've possibly seen it in the past, but yeah.
Well, they changed it in the game so that you could differentiate between the two.
But I with the rifle version, I would love to see you be able to slap a scope onto it. Again, maybe um, you need to take it to the workshops we were discussing, but that would add a little bit more life to it, and just something. Part of the thing we need to remember is not everything needs to be about just pure what's going to be the best gun, because there's a lot of people who just like to play to have fun with the different guns and that. And just imagine setting yourself a mission for this play session that I'm going to find a BK, I'm going to take it to the workshop, I'm going to mount a hunting scope on it, and then I'm going to get a kill at the Northwest Airfield using this one round reach load every single round. Just as something for a bit of fun. Not everything needs to be purely analyzed from that perspective. It's the same as the crossbows. Crossbows, fun, but not a lot of people will use them, barring to break the meta when it comes to rating bases. So, yeah.
I'm fine with the way the IZH-18 works right now, and also if you look at it, it's really thin. I mean, the only thing you could probably fit on there may be the pistol dot. I don't see you being able to put a scope on there, but I guess it would be interesting. Funny enough, you said about the people choosing guns just because of how it looks. I see a lot of people sticking to SKSs and repeaters. Like they will not, at least on Xbox that is, because the SKS it's good enough and you don't need magazines. So that's less things people want to carry. And the
See,
repeater,
you just reminded me. That bugs me as well. Where the fuck is the speed loader?
I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, it
It's
pisses me off
because
though.
when you have a scope mounted, you can't use stripper clips when the scope is mounted. It blocks it. It's worse on the Mosin because of how much closer it is, but the SKS has that same problem. So, and also, um, how would you? It'd be kind of difficult to implement because say you fired like 2 shots and you want to reload, but your magazine only has 7. So, how are you just gonna like shove it's only 3 rounds in the stripper clip and just leave the rest of it on there and just
Look, they had them before, and I can't remember how it worked if you were mid magazine or clip, um, but you would primarily only want them for when you are in a major firefight where it's only 10 rounds. So you're going to go through those 10 rounds in the SKS pretty quick. And then if you need to reload in a hurry, like it's one of the things that, we're again talking about balance. The SKS is kind of almost superfluous at the moment. I don't know what the current stats are, but I remember quite some time back when Dumpgra was on the show with me. And I posed a question to people because I'd looked at the stats, thanks to Wobo's lovely website. And the SKS and the M16 had exactly the same damage. Now, if you had a choice between an SKS and an M16, what would you take? Unless there was a reason for you wanting to take the SKS, such as the PU scope, which does give it a slight advantage. You're mad if you took that over an M16, because with an M16, you could fit a 60 round mag on it and pump out 60 rounds in almost the same time it would take an SKS player to fire their 10 rounds and then load another 10 rounds again. Without the stripper clip, it really does lack when it comes to a high intensity situation. And it's the same with the revolver. The Mosin, not so much with the Mosin because it's in the same sort of category as, although it does lack the long range scope now, but it's still kind of in the same category as the Winchester, Savannah. Savannah's a bad one to use actually because it's a magazine, but you know what I mean. In that it takes a while to reload, but there's a reason why, because they're quite high damage weapons. But when it comes to those mid range to close range firefights, M16 hands down was the better option over the SKS, unless you were just an SKS fan. Without the stripper clip,
yeah, it's
it
largely just
lost
a
a
fan
lot of
club. Also,
lost a lot of parity. Yeah, go for it.
also the SKS has better iron sights than the carry handle. It's
Yeah,
less of structure view, and at least what I've seen, at least myself, like people are kind of trained around the problem. Like when you're in a firefight with an SKS, you don't dump all your rounds in 10 seconds. You fire like 2, 3 shots, then you like reload because it's much faster to reload when you're like not even halfway empty yet than being full empty. Or like they'll load as many as they can and then stop. So I feel like yeah, stripper clips would make it easier, but also you would have to take the scope off to run it, unless you're just gonna have disbelief where it's just gonna clip right through it. Clip right.
see, there's a point from ID Orion, sorry, from Shogun in chat there. Just putting it up on the screen. They should add railed mounts to the game for the SKS and Mosin, just like their real world counterparts. But you should need to use a screwdriver at minimum to affix it to the weapon, though. Again, I like that because I know you can do mount things quickly to existing rails, but unless it's one of those higher tier weapons like the M4s and so on, unless you've got those parts affixed, it gives you a reason to keep things that you might normally overlook. So, it was great to see the friendly lads share their video, and I actually learned something about where you get a battery from I think it was from the triggers for explosives. If you use a screwdriver on them, it gives you a battery. But the screwdriver is one of the most versatile items in the game. You can use it for cutting, stabbing. You can use it for affixing car parts and removing car parts, and it's just a great thing to have. But a lot of people overlook it. But if you add a rail in, that if a person has a screwdriver on them, they can then get their Mosin, find that rail, and affix a rail to it. So
So with the Mosin, there are 2 ways to mount an optic with the original stock. Either A, you drill a scope rail on top of the receiver, or you take a piece of rail and you remove the rear sight and screw it in its place. Rear sights are much easier to do and are reversible. SKSs, I see either the so in
I love the SKS, by the way. I do. It's one of my favorite guns.
I know. I like mine, which is sitting in my closet. Um,
Come
they
out of the closet,
either
SKS. It's okay. We'll accept you just the way you are.
uh people I've seen rail dust covers for the SKSs. They don't hold zero very well, but it's an easy solution. Repair the rear sides, or they'll have a whole rail stripped across the top of the bolt. I've seen those. So yeah, it could be done. I don't know how they would implement it in game, but it could be done if you needed a tool to do it that would make it interesting, but also that would be permanent at the same time. So if say they added the Mosin one with the for the rear side, if you stuck that on there, you have no iron sights anymore.
You know, one other thing I'd like to see them implement. We were talking before about maybe different tiers of workshops. Even at a very basic level, if you've got a 100% weapon kit, you can restore a weapon to pristine. Now, for gun lovers, if you really look after your gun, off the shelf versus 10 years old, provided you've been maintaining that weapon and giving it love, they often fire better once you put a few rounds through them.
It's called
But
a break-in period.
yeah, but they really need to look at that, because it's always bugged me that the best you can get is worn after a weapon that you found at pristine is done. Like, even if you upped it to, you've got to take it to a workshop, spend a minute, with the spinning wheel, and you can restore that weapon to pristine condition, just to get that extra period of less likely to have a jam. And I know it frustrates a lot of people that pristine guns or pristine ammo jam, but that's guns, people. There's so many things going on inside them, from the
Yeah,
ammo to the magazine and even if they all look pristine, just they're temperamental little bitches at times, and they will just sometimes you pull the trigger and it just goes click, and you don't know why.
yeah, you could have it. The jams at DayZ are simple. Those are just failure to eject. You don't have double feeds, failure to
Mm-hmm.
extract, failure
Might
to
have been a little bit less powder, just the forces that didn't align. You piss someone off in the
or
guides
your
upstairs.
ammo's underpowered.
Yeah, there's so many reasons why it can do it. But again, that's another thing that I don't like is the weapon jamming system. I think they could add a little bit more to it. That there's different actions. Scum has a pretty cool system where you kind of look at the weapon and it gives you, because you can, in general, you could just look at the weapon and know what the fault was, whether it's stovepipe, whether it's just didn't extract properly, and a variety of other reasons, all of which have different things. And we've got things like pliers in the game. Just imagine if you did have a stovepipe and you couldn't fix your gun unless you had pliers with you. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit gun autist myself there, but I personally think that would be a fantastic option. And that's only
or
something that would happen if, in the worst case scenario, your weapon was badly damaged, and then it becomes like a 5% chance that you're going to have the worst possible failure. But there's
here's
an encouragement to keep your weapon in good condition.
here's another thing people don't consider. The different There's a reason why rifles have different operating systems.
Sorry, for shame, Shogun, for shame. See what he said in chat there?
My everyday carry needs to be cleaned all the time.
For shame. For shame, my man. For shame. Yeah, squib loads, double loads. There's so many other things that could give you a click instead of a boom.
So like in theory, so if you don't clean it, in theory, an AK runs better than a standard AR-15. In theory, because the pit there's less gas in the going to the system, right? Like just like stuff like that, I feel like they don't think about. Or you know how people run into water, and they get like gun like Metro Exodus did this perfectly, where if your gun got too wet or had mud on it, it won't fire because you have mud in your gun. You have to physically take it to a workshop and disassemble the whole thing and have the gun cleaned. for it to fire. Like if you get mud or sand or dirt in your chambers, it's not gonna be a good day. And the simpler the system, the less likely this stuff to happen. Like the bolt actions, very simple. So I feel like in a way, so if they were to revamp how jamming and durability works, I think the more complicated your gun is, say your assault rifles, your battle rifles, especially the FAL, that like there's a reason that gun was not as put to like was not well liked by insurgents compared to like the G3s or the AKs because it's a fine-tuned system. If one part of the system doesn't work, the whole gun's done if you get anything into it. Whereas like AKs or G3s, you can run that thing all day and it doesn't matter what you throw into it. It doesn't matter.
Don't you dare diss my Val.
Hey, I love the FAL. It's my favorite
The
battle rifle, but I'm
SLR
being
is God
realistic
tier.
that
It is the right arm of the free world, and I will not tolerate anyone dissing my baby.
I'm just speaking realistically. The way, like the mechanism.
Nah, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it.
Hey, I'm buying a FAL myself. I'm having one built, so.
And you will take back every word you said. You are about to find out what God tier weapon design is all about. The SLR is one of the most memed guns in Australian history. All the old guys who served, especially the Vietnam vets, the common thing is that basically in their eyes, the FAL was, or the SLR was like shooting a 105 millimeter Splintex shell at the enemy. There was God tier, hit them, they stayed down. Yeah, but there's more to it than just that, mate. You don't always want to kill the guy.
People
but
feel
I'm
that
not
way.
going to go into that because that'll probably get us
Vietnam vets feel
the
same way about the M14.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, look, I think we've covered pretty much everything, folks. This was a really good, interesting episode. I think we might look at if anyone's got some ideas of other areas of DayZ that they'd like to talk about. Like another pet one of mine is obviously bases, but also cooking. And the health of characters and that. And I've had a lot of thoughts
Farming.
on that. But yeah, but Victory, thank you so much for this, mate. I know it was a while coming around to it, and sorry to everyone who was hoping to see the Silver Fox, but he hasn't been he's been a bit sick of late, and he's still got his own channel, which he's just going from strength to strength. That guy, it's so great to see. He's just a good guy, my old mate Cobra. And I'm just about to re-release the episode with him. I've given it a bit of a fine-tuned edit to make it look a bit more attractive. You might be noticing some changes on the YouTube channel, folks, and in the community. I'm trying to lift my game a little bit and start being a bit more productive between interviews and just doing episodes of the podcast like this around various topics and so on. But yeah. The FAL is probably, and it's kind of why I chose it for the thumbnail. It's a great example of the more recent versions of it. Definitely, there's a lot more scope of what you can do. But again, thank you, Victory, for coming to me with this idea. And devs, please consider it.
Yeah,
this would be an easy win for you guys to add some stuff to make people happy, especially the console community would probably lose their shit over being able to do more. PC, we're spoiled already.
We lose our minds every time the game gets updated. You guys, you PC guys, like, oh, there's a new thing at close. We're like, oh my god!
Actually, one last thing I need to know from you. I saw they posted that their next gen console support.
I saw that. I'm very excited for that. We have been asking for performance boosters because the game runs fine. It's a lot better than what it was when I started playing the game 6 years ago, but it could be better and it could look a little better. Shotgun. Hold on a second. If you want to see some Bubba images, look up cursed gun images and people's reactions to them, or go in the comment sections of cheap firearms like Palmetto State Armory. You will see some of the most horrific things you have ever seen in your entire life on there. But anyway, I'm excited for next gen update. It's just performance boost, maybe a little bit of a graphical fidelity, because on PC, you guys, I believe you can mess around with your render distances and your cloud volumetric clouding. Is that true, Boydie?
I don't even understand half the words you said then, but I do
In
know
your
that
settings, can
I
you
can mess with there's a thing you can go into and change a value of, and you'll get increased view distance. Just replying to Adorian there in chat. It's I'm typing in the wrong line. That's why it's not auto generating. So he said the devs won't comment why. It's 2015 roadmap related generational PTSD, mate. Ever since they did the 2015 roadmap announcement at PAX Australia, you could ask the devs what color the sky is on a bright blue sunny day, and they would say, and that's about it. They won't commit to anything because every time they do, the community turns on them. And as frustrating as it is, I personally feel they should just, bite the bullet and just accept that that's what's going to happen. They've turned more to, they play their cards close to their chest and are very reluctant to commit to anything. Even look at when I did the interview with Tales. And he made that comment, and everyone, it's just like, like people just love to hate.
What are people complaining about though? Like,
mate,
do you want the game to update or die? Like, pick one.
Yeah. But everyone, thank you so much. I will be announcing some more changes coming up in the future. But please, if you haven't, consider becoming a YouTube member. Again, thank you for the donation as well, mate. I really do appreciate it. We don't make a lot of money here. Make sure in the YouTube channel, in the Discord, you check out the giveaways channel. I just posted up. We're giving away another 8 games. The Humble Bundle pack. We've got Resident Evil Village, Date Everything, Core Keeper, Star Vaders. This one sounds really cool. Squirrel with a Gun, Steam World Build, Bus Simulator 21, Next Stop, and Big Helmet Heroes. So 8 games, and all you've got to do is click on a button, which is called Participate. Quite easy to understand that one. And you go in the draw, and they'll be drawn out on the this Saturday, 7th of March 2026 at 8 p.m. Australian Brisbane time. And in the order that the winners are announced, you will win the game. So the first person will win Resident Evil, second will win Date Everything, and so on and so on. Good luck if you're going to enter. You're mad if you don't. Doesn't cost you nothing. Just be a part of the community and press the button.
But Dorian, what are you going on about the Xbox servers going away? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, he's not going to say that. He's going to be sending me a message, and I'll be chatting with him about that because I'm kind of curious as to what's happening there as well. I love the dev team. I love DayZ. I love Bohemia, but man, they make some weird fucking decisions.
Yeah, they killed Vigor, and our creators took its place. They killed.
But yeah. Mate, all the best. Hi, Mum and Dad, because you said they were going to be watching this one as well, Victory.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the best, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Ciao
for now.